What really happens when Omni-Man finally returns to Earth to face Debbie after abandoning her? We open up with a massive wide shot of Nolan and Alan the alien flying low over the trees on Earth. They are on a desperate mission to recruit the Earth superhero known as Tech Jacket for the rapidly approaching Viltrumite War. As they fly, Alan looks over at Nolan and asks the exact question the entire audience is thinking. What about your wife? Are you not even going to see her while you're here? Look closely at Nolan's body language here. The most dangerous man in the universe looks absolutely terrified. He tells Alan no. He admits he wouldn't even know what to say to her after putting her through so much psychological torture. He just wants to find the recruit and get off the planet because there are simply too many bad memories. But as they land outside Tech Jacket's house, we get an incredibly funny moment. An old man in a sweater vest is just casually walking his golden retriever. He looks at a giant one-eyed orange alien and a floating Viltrumite and he doesn't even flinch. He just asks if they are looking for the Thompson boy. Alan asks if their appearance alarms him and this absolute legend of a neighbor just smiles and says, "Seen stranger, that's for sure," and the bad guys don't knock first. Just a perfect piece of Kirkman world building. But while Nolan is outside avoiding his past, the secrets are unraveling inside the Grayson house. Mark and a teenage Oliver are standing at the bottom of the stairs, and they are in a heated argument. Mark knows that his father is on the planet, but he is desperately trying to keep it a secret from Debbie. He knows she is nowhere near ready for that kind of emotional bombshell. He tells Oliver that they can't leave Earth undefended, but Oliver is furious. He wants to go to space. He wants to fight the Viltrumites because they tried to kill his mother. But here is the massive tragic irony of this scene. As Mark is saying that Debbie isn't ready to see Nolan, Debbie is standing right behind them on the stairs. Look at this panel, just look at her eyes. The sheer panic, the absolute devastation setting in as she realizes exactly who they are talking about. She immediately bursts into tears. This leads us to one of the most raw, uncomfortable and heavy conversations in the entire comic book run. Mark and Oliver leave the room and Nolan is left completely alone in the kitchen with the woman whose life he destroyed. Debbie is holding her face, sobbing uncontrollably. Look at the absolute pain etched into her face by the artist. She looks up at Nolan and tells him point blank that there is nothing he could ever say to make her stop hating him. But then Nolan does something we rarely see. He drops his guard entirely. He tells her that he meant nothing he said on that terrible day. He admits that his time on Earth actually changed him. All those years raising Mark, building a life together, he thought it was an act. But he looks at his hands, completely defeated, and says, "I was wrong. I was changing. What we shared was real. Forcing myself to carry out my mission, that was the act." He finally confesses that he knew that day he had ruined the only life he had ever grown to love. But Debbie, hardened by her trauma, just glares at him with tears in her eyes and says, she will never ever believe that. And Nolan, accepting his punishment, just looks down and whispers, "I understand, and I'm sorry." We cut back to outside to Alan the alien. Tech Jacket has finally shown up, floating in the sky in his full silver combat armor. Alan, being a seasoned space warrior, is trying to figure out exactly how Earth superheroes operate. He is completely stunned when Tech Jacket admits he spends most of his day going to school and just doing normal day-to-day stuff, only stepping in for space-based threats. Alan asks, "So you're an alien?" and Tech Jacket just looks at this giant orange cyclops and replies, "What was your first clue?" It is a great comedic contrast to the heavy drama inside, and it shows how ridiculous the Invincible universe can be when normal humans interact with intergalactic warlords. Nolan walks into Oliver's bedroom. This is a massive moment. Nolan is finally facing his half-Traxan son after being separated for so long. He looks at Mark and says he wants to talk to his brother. Nolan steps forward and tells Oliver how much he has missed him. Oliver admits he was worried Nolan wouldn't even recognize him. Nolan wants to know absolutely everything about Oliver's life on Earth. What he's learned, what he's experienced. But look at Oliver's face. He looks completely overwhelmed. He tells Nolan that there has been a lot and he doesn't even know where to start. So Nolan makes the ultimate offer. "I've changed my mind. I think that you should come with us. Maybe we can talk more during the trip." And Oliver, who has grown up so fast and is absolutely desperate for action, just lights up with a massive smile. Now we have to talk about Paul. In the Amazon show, Debbie is trying to make things work with him, but seeing Nolan again completely shatters that illusion. We cut to Debbie aggressively packing a cardboard box full of Paul's stuff. She is on the phone with him and she is done. She tells him to come get his crap or she is throwing it in the trash. She hangs up the phone, literally saying, "Screw you, Paul." But before she can even take a breath, she hears a voice behind her ask, "Who's Paul?" It's Mark! He bursts into the kitchen wearing his classic yellow and blue suit, and Debbie throws her arms around him, crying out to God that he is alive. But here is the massive twist that show only fans are not ready for. Mark says he is fine, but Debbie screams back at him, "Fine? You've been gone for 10 months." That's right, a massive time jump has occurred. Mark has been fighting a brutal war in deep space for nearly a year. Debbie frantically asks where Oliver is, and standing right behind Mark, Nolan calmly answers. He tells her Oliver is recovering on Thalaskria with the finest doctors in the galaxy, and then Nolan, clearly feeling a bit of jealousy, asks the question again. Who is Paul? But before they can get into it, Debbie tells Mark that he needs to go see Samantha, Atom Eve, because she is not doing well. Mark's eyes go wide, and he immediately blasts off into the sky. So once again, Nolan and Debbie are left completely alone, and Debbie is not holding back anymore. Nolan remarks that she took another mate, and Debbie absolutely explodes. Look at the pure anger on her face in this panel. She screams at him, "How many alien bug people were you sleeping with before Oliver came along?" It is such a raw, incredibly human reaction. Nolan looks completely taken aback and says he isn't upset, just disappointed. But before he can finish his sentence, a massive blinding energy blast completely blows the kitchen door off its hinges. Cecil Stedman literally teleports right into the room with a heavy laser pistol drawn and shoots Nolan point blank in the chest. He realizes it's Nolan, lowers the gun and completely deadpans. Mark had told me you'd reflex. It is the ultimate tension-breaking jump scare. After Cecil leaves, we get the final quiet aftermath. It is nighttime. Nolan and Debbie are sitting on the couch. Debbie is holding a mug of tea, looking completely exhausted. She finally admits the truth. She tells him that after seeing him again, being with Paul just felt wrong. But she immediately follows it up by saying she still doesn't believe a word of his apology. Look at Nolan's face in the middle panels. He is completely desperate. He reaches out, grabs her hand, and begs her, "I wish that there was some way to make you aware of just how much I've missed you." For a split second, you think they might reconcile, but Debbie violently pulls her hand away, clutches her forehead, and delivers the final crushing blow. "No, damn it, I'll never forgive you," and we see Nolan completely helpless, just whispering her name. We get the true climax of this massive emotional roller coaster. Nolan tries to comfort her. He places his hand softly on her shoulders and tries to explain himself one last time. He tells her he knows he can never take back what he did to her and to Mark, but he begs her to understand that he had thousands of years of brutal Viltrumite beliefs to overcome. And Debbie finally snaps. Look at the second panel here. She turns to him, her fists completely clenched, tears flying from her eyes, and she screams at the top of her lungs, "I don't have to understand a goddamn thing. You ruined my life." It is the absolute rawest, most furious we have ever seen her. But then, the anger just completely runs out. The adrenaline fades and she completely deflates. The artist draws her looking down, completely broken, as she whispers the most heartbreaking line in the entire series. "I just wish everything could go back to the way it was before." And Nolan, finally understanding the true, permanent weight of his actions, pulls her into a deep, tight embrace. He rests his head against hers, closes his eyes, and delivers one of the greatest lines he has ever spoken. "No. Things will never go back to the way they were, because I will never lie to you again." But now I want to turn it over to you guys, because the Amazon show is setting this dilemma up perfectly. Right now on TV, we are watching Debbie actively take that massive step with Paul. They are literally moving in together. She is trying so incredibly hard to build a loving, normal, safe life away from the superhero chaos. Paul represents peace. He represents a world where she doesn't have to worry about alien empires, world-ending threats, or being lied to every single day. But then she looks at Oliver's new O costume and she is instantly pulled right back to the past with Nolan. No matter how many boxes she unpacks with Paul, she just cannot escape Nolan's shadow. The show is deliberately making us care about her and Paul's relationship so that when Nolan finally returns to Earth in the animation, the emotional damage is going to be 10 times worse. So, after seeing exactly how this comic plays out, what do you think she should actually do? Should she have just moved in with Paul, locked the door, and completely left the superhero trauma in the past? Or does Nolan's final promise to literally abandon his entire empire's philosophy and never lie to her again mean they actually belong together? Can you ever really forgive someone who did what he did? I want to see whose side you are on. Please be sure to like, share and subscribe for more. Thank you. And you can watch here how the first episode of Invincible Season 4 played out in the comics.